Moria, where Gandalf took on the Balrog in his famous last stand at the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. We wanted to recreate this awesome place of Middle-earth for our gaming table. So we're gonna take you on a journey into the making of Moria. To serve as the main component of our table, we chose a 4x8 sheet of insulation foam that we got from our local hardware store. We only wanted this particular board to be 4x4, so we had to cut it. To do this, we used a foam cutter that we got from Amazon. I'll link it down below. Next, we glued our 4x4 sheet of Masonite to what will become the bottom side of the board to give some support. We used all-purpose construction glue for this. It took a few days for our glue to dry, but once it had, we began drawing the chasm that was going to become the centerpiece of the board. We wanted to make sure that models in play could actually jump across it, so we made sure to mark points for them to jump across. After we had mapped out our careening chasm, we used our Amazon foam cutter to carve it out. This took a little bit of time, but I think we were both happy with the end result. I will say, since we glued everything down first, it was a little difficult to cut it out, but I don't really know another way we could have done it, so enjoy watching us struggle to rip it up. This is where the fun really began. It was now time to texture the board. We had several ideas about what exactly we wanted to use to do this, but we ended up settling on plaster of Paris. This stuff spreads pretty easily if you get it to the right consistency with the water that you add to it, and it hardens pretty quickly, which is good because we didn't want to wait around too long on whatever material we used. We chose plaster in particular because we thought it would make a really good smooth stone texture, the kind that you would find in caves. We got to lathering it up, first with a tool, and then ended up just using our hands, which you'll see, I felt like a clay potter. And the stuff got everywhere. It had its disadvantages too, like the fact that it dried really, really fast, and at times it was hard to get it to spread around. We were afraid it would end up trashing the board, not being usable, but I think we ended up with a fantastic result. With the texture all dried and solid, it was time to start painting it. We needed to lay down a foundational base coat, sort of like a primer. So, to accomplish this, we chose black to give us a solid, dark foundation to build on top of later, and we mixed the paint with PVA glue. It should give the board more resilience in the future. We ended up with something like this. Pretty, right? We gave the board another coat of our primer, and then moved on to putting the actual colors on. So, we started with black, and this was very intentional because we wanted to take the gray that we put on over it, and then slowly build up colors afterward. We chose a granite gray to use as a base coat over our primer. It looked pretty bright during application, but you'll see it turned out just fine. Now it was time to give some life to this sea of gray we created. We used a dry brush mixture of white and gray, building successively, getting lighter each time, and we dry brushed the whole thing. Careful not to put too much paint on, but enough so that the details would stand out. Now was time for the final step in the process, glazing the table in a wash. This helps create shadows and accentuate the details that we created with the other steps. As opposed to using an expensive regular model wash, we actually created our own, using Liquitex matte medium and acrylic oils. In particular, black and brown acrylic oil for this wash, as we wanted it to reflect a dark and dirty cave floor. So we made sure to apply a healthy coat to the top of it and let it dry. And there you have it, our own little piece of Moria for our gaming room. It was an extremely fun project. It took a couple days to complete, but it was time that we got to spend together and learn, which helped us become better hobbyers in general. We know it's not perfect, nothing ever is, but we think it's pretty cool. And we wanted to make sure that it was modular, so we didn't go too crazy with any of the details. Yes, there's things we could have done, and we debated it, but in the end, we wanted to make sure that we had a canvas so we could make multiple environments. At TriStar, we like to get a lot of use out of our gaming materials. We don't typically dabble in too much specialty equipment. But overall, we think it turned out really good, and we're happy with it. So, that's all that matters in the end, right? We just wanted to share this process with you, and hopefully inspire you to make your own tables, which we'd love to hear about down in the comments below. So, that's pretty much all we've got for you today. We hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.